Hello everyone and welcome to Miranda Pitrone Art. I'm Miranda. It has been a while since I've been here with you and it is so good to be back. I hope you guys are all doing well. Just wanted to take a quick second to show you my website here where it allows you to go everywhere that I have stuff. I have the shop with tools and all sorts of fun little items. You can find the rock hangers, you can find the dotting tools, the etcher, all the things for starting off dotting. You can get to my videos through here by clicking on the painting tutorials, and it takes you right to my YouTube, which allows for you to go to check out any of the videos I have available. I have hundreds. I've been doing this for a few years, so there's a lot to check out. And you can see I've started doing some sketching even with the pen markers. Lots of fun. You can also leave a review for me here. I have the color palette link, Instagram, photography I do as a fun thing on the side. You know, just lots of variety. So, today we're going to start on a molded disc. And I wanted to pick out a color palette that just was calming and enjoyable. So I have a Pinterest page here called Color Palettes EA, and usually if you go to this you'll see the latest things that I'm looking at, so maybe you can get an idea for what I'm going to be doing next. So I'm looking for sort of a bright blue, bright green, a little bit of white, just something that is really appealing to the eye. So I found a few on here, and you can also go on, if you find one that you like, you can just scroll down, you'll have more like this. So, but I think this one is kind of closest to how I'm feeling to go for this one today. I use the Happy Dotting mold. It has multiples, but I use the disc one here. And I can use them for coasters, you name it. There's lots of different applications. So I just wanted to show you how easy it is to unmold, demold them from it. So satisfying. She also has these silicone stencils, which help with guidelines. So I was just going to show you guys quick. I just take the etcher or a pencil or chalk pencil, whatever, and then I'm going to use all the lines on this one, but you could pick and choose which ones you want to use, or just use it to help you find your center of whatever you're working on. So you can just use a mechanical pencil. I think the etcher was scratching my paint off a little bit, so I might use pencil on all this. But if you just go through, and like I said, I'm going to use all of the lines on this one. But you could pick and choose. Maybe you just wanted 4 to create a quad mandala, or maybe you just wanted to use 6 or 8. You have the freedom to do that with the stencil. Plus, it being so flexible, it fits over anything. I had heart stones, I had beach stones that I picked out. I've used it on tiles. And that way you have some guidelines. Alright, so you get the idea. So I filled in what I was going to use. And this is molded from the mold, but I used powder plaster instead of the gypsum. And Happy Dotting has a lot of molds, so I encourage you to check out her site. So you can see this is just the white potter's plaster, which is lighter weight than the gypsum. And I'm going to start off with using Deco Art paints, Bluegrass green. And this is an acrylic rod. So most of this I'm going to be using silicone tools, but this is an acrylic rod here. I'm just going to make sure I dip it full in that paint, and that's going to be my center dot. Now this acrylic rod is about 3/4 of an inch, just to give you an idea of the starting dot for the center. I almost said starting. I am from Massachusetts originally, I have an excuse. Alright, next up I'm going to use the Cool White. And these are the silicone tools. So this one is pointed at the end, very squishy. And it does take a little bit of getting used to. It's not like the ball end of the Stylus where you just dip and dot, dip and dot. It's actually a little bit more like a paintbrush, I guess. It's kind of like using the brushes, but again, I am not well versed in using the silicone tools. I just thought I'd check them out and show you guys here. So I'm just seeing how uniform, they're pretty uniform. I mean, it takes a little bit of pressure and wiggling it a little bit. Make sure always when you are doing dots that your paint is a good consistency and kind of on the thinner side. If you're using ones out of the little metal tubes, you're going to have to thin it down with a painting flow medium, acrylic medium, that type of thing. So I'm not really giving rhyme or reason to putting the amount of dots or placing them specifically. I'm just kind of moving along with my spacing, but if you wanted your spacing to be exact, you could use the dotting or the guidelines and dot on the guidelines first that are pointed towards your center, and then fill in between, and that'll give you a little better idea of spacing. But I've been doing this for a while. I was just gonna go for it and see how it goes. I think we'll just do one ring of the white here. Alright, the next color I'm going to use is Teal Mint, and this silicone one is oval. Let me wipe it off here. It's oval. So this is going to help us to create a little oval dot, and I am going to use the guidelines here and just place an oval dot at each one. So I like to continue in the vein of thought of making a plus sign or going across from each other just to make sure they're lined up a little bit, even though I have the guidelines here. But you don't have to do that. You can just follow your guidelines, place each one. And it does see, you kind of just have to make sure you have it at exactly the correct angle. See how it's making circles instead of ovals? I just had to push down a little bit the opposite way. There you go. And just make sure that you're touching the whole flat surface of the oval to your piece. Okay, next I have Ocean Blue. And I'm still using the pointed one, and I'm going to try to see how it makes swipes here. That works pretty well. So I call these swipes, I've been doing them for a while, but a lot of people call them swishes now. I've seen people call them the dot drag. You do it with a stylus and then just drag out the dot. I was informed a few years ago that it's called a comma stroke when you're using a paintbrush in painting. So there's lots of different names, but it creates this cute little petal type effect. And you can drag the tail out longer, you can make them shorter, you can curve them around. There's lots you can do with these just as an added accent to your mandalas. So this one's a little curved more than I wanted it to be. You can use these silicone tools to just kind of swipe up extra paint until it's flat, and then I'm just going to paint a little of the matte black that I used on my background over it, just so I can straighten that one out after. So this one, I tried the bevel one and a couple of the other ones, but I had left the paint a little bit too long. So I'm even applying the paint with the silicone tool as well. And then I'll just continue working while I let that dry. And then redo it. So now I have turquoise blue, and we're going to go alongside of that first blue swipe we put in here and use that kind of for our guide. I'm going to stay up near the top where the other one started. And I have to say these silicone tools work well. It is sort of like a paintbrush though, so I'm pushing down a little harder at the start of the swipe so you get it a little wider at the top, and then you're just kind of letting the end, which is a point, kind of flick up at the end, or just drag that tail out so that you have the smaller point tail at the end. So again, it's not, you know, they're not magic tools. every kind you use, I encourage you just stick with for a while, because it just takes a little bit of practice. I've seen some people up and dotting just amazing pieces in 3 months. They've just expanded amazingly well. How creative, and just their versatility with using the tools. It's just amazing how quick you can progress in this. So don't lose heart. If it's not coming out exactly the way you want it in your head too, I want to encourage that this is more of a process of just enjoying being calm and creating something. Don't get bogged down with counting and all that. It gets frustrating, and it's kind of an abstract-ish art. So I switched to winter blue. That's why it's a little bit lighter. But I'm just going to go next to these other ones. But yeah, I used to count when I first started out, and it actually would give me a little bit more anxiety. Like, oh my gosh, I only have 9 dots around this side, and I have 11 on that side. Nobody's going to count your dots. And if they do, it doesn't take away from the beauty of the piece. You know, that you made this, it's beautiful. Sometimes I'll step away and just come back to something after a little bit of time. Or one thing I've found helpful is taking pictures of it, or seeing it on the video and then just looking at that instead of what's right in front of you. Sometimes we're so close up with something that we see every little flaw. Oh, paint dripped there. Oh, it's off angle here. Nobody's is going to be perfect. Just enjoy painting them. So this too also shows the directionality of how you have your hand can affect just so comfort, grip, and the direction you're doing your swipe can change how comfortable it is for you as well. I'm going to go with this beveled one, and using the Kelly green, we're going to come down in between here, and it makes kind of a cute little petal, leafy petal. So this is the beveled one. And again, it takes just a little bit of practice, wiggling it from side to side just to see how to get the size of them about the same. Okay, so now I'm going to grab the Jadeite glass, and the other end of these tools are styluses, which I've bent myself. They come straight like this, but I put it on an angle just because it's easier for me to see what I'm doing, and for you guys as well for the purposes of the video. So we're going to just tuck a couple little Jadeite glass dots down here at the base of that petal that we created. Okay, so I'm going to grab the white now, and I'm going back to that pointed tool just to do a couple more swipes off the side here. And it just kind of creates a little fan out of your swipes, just a fan effect. Let's see here, I got a little bit of a better angle. Just kind of tuck them in next to that last one. And you can see at the end of each too, it is like a paintbrush as well, where it's got kind of a little whimsical fringe to it, which personally I kind of like. But So you can reshape them a little bit, but it will thicken the tail, just to warn you. Especially if you start from the top, you might be able to grab a little bit of paint from the bottom and stretch it just a little bit longer. I'm really loving this blue and green combination. Having snow this week just kind of set me back into winter a little. I needed something calming and springish, so. Okay, so this is almost the largest Stylus dot in this set. And I'm just going to go put a dot here above our petal. So this is kind of the beauty of creating mandalas. You can just throw any little design at it, do it all the way around in all the spaces, and it kind of creates, remember the kaleidoscopes when we were kids? You know, you twist the kaleidoscopes, the shape fall into place with different colors and stuff like that. So it becomes kind of like a choose your own adventure, I like to call it. So you just change it up each time and you have a different adventure. Add a couple dots, add extra dots, add swipes, triangles. I've seen tons of stencils now online. If you don't feel confident in doing your own design, there's stencils out there. Deco Art makes some great mandala stencils. So yeah, just it's so enjoyable. So that other dot was, the lighter one was Jadeite, and then I'm using white to kind of finish out. And while I'm letting those dry, I'm just kind of sketching myself some lines here just to see, do I want to do rounded? Do I want to do angles? And this kind of allows you to play with your design. If you haven't planned a design, you know, if you don't have a stencil or it's already planned out, you can see how it's going to look just by etching on, and then just a damp cloth will kind of erase your lines if that's not what you wanted to do. So you can see I'm kind of creating some little petal shapes. I don't really have designs in mind as I go. A lot of times I just start in the center with a color palette that I really enjoy, and then I go on my merry way. So I need to finish up my white dots here. And I think I will go with the rounded ones just to have a guide area. Alright, so we're going to go with True Blue. And I've seen other people use the beveled one to make swipes, so I'm going to try just to make some swipes with that and see how that goes. Again, it's just the beveled one with the True Blue. It's a little bit trickier to kind of get these because it does wiggle a little back and forth. And the tail's not quite as dragged out at the end. Maybe if I had a longer space to do it in. This is only about a ½ inch area. But again, you know, I encourage you to just keep trying. If this is what you want to use for a tool, go for it. If you feel comfortable holding them and they are a little squishy on the ends, there's a great selection, a variety. So I messed up on that last one. I'm going to let it dry. And I'm going to show you here. You just work around the space while you have bits either fixing or drying, or when you're working on one area, you can just kind of work on other areas. So I'm just showing you here the difference between a dotting stylus. So like I was talking about dot dragging, so you're just basically using the ball end of the stylus here, put down your paint, and pull it out into a swipe. And you can see I've done this one a lot longer, so I feel a little more confident that they're just going to pull out and make my little tail. And you'll get used to how much paint you load on. But I just wanted to show here, it's pretty easy to use the styluses to do this as well. But that's the good thing about this set, is you have both ends. You have the stylus and you have the silicone end. And you have the freedom to use either. I do want to say I was cleaning my silicone end, and one of the tips came out of the base. So I don't know if that's me being too rough or if it's just this manufacturer, but just a heads up, just wipe them gently. Alright, so I don't know why, I'm going to try a little center dot here. I'm just feeling another color, but I'll leave it there and look at it throughout the rest of the piece and think about it usually, because we can always paint over that. So I'm grabbing the turquoise and I'm going now to the pointed silicone tool. And I'm going to tuck some swipes along the way so we're fanning out just like we did in that first area. But I'm kind of angling it down on the sides a little bit more because I'm just trying to kind of stay within the confines of that arc just a bit that I made with this etching tool. Because I'll probably dot the outline of that arc with white or something like that just to kind of delineate it a little bit from the rest. You guys having fun? Isn't this so much fun? I love painting with you all. It's been so long. We've been working on our farm, we got baby chicks, we got topsoil for the garden, built raised beds, been pruning apple trees and got peach trees put in and cherry trees, and we're getting elderberry and mulberry this weekend. So we have been so busy outside, but this 6 inches of snow that just dumped on us gave me an opportunity to be inside for a little bit. So I was in desperate need of painting. That's another thing I want to encourage you is I try to paint a little bit every day just to kind of keep my skills up, but it doesn't always happen, in all fairness, all honesty. Life happens. But even if you can get in 15 minutes or just practicing on a cardstock, anything like that, just to have some time to yourself with a cup of coffee. Or come say hi to me. I just want to thank you guys too for all the encouragement in the comments. I know the algorithms are crazy and YouTube will actually just stop showing videos if I'm not commenting back or engaging with everyone, which is understandable, but also if people don't comment on my videos, just say hi, you know, you can even tell me where you're from, but if there's not any comments and people just watch and let it go, then YouTube doesn't show them as much. That's part of their algorithm. So if you like my videos, please just say hi, leave a heart, whatever, something in the comments just to let me know you stopped by. I really appreciate it. These days it's so nice to have something that's calming and enjoyable to do together. Oh, that being said, these days, okay, so if you guys can't find these exact colors that I used, don't lose heart. You can use any color. Just pick a different color palette or whatever you have closest to it. You can use, sometimes I'll use metallics. And you could just use the base color. So if it's like purple metallic, just use purple. So don't feel confined and constricted to whatever it is that I'm using. It doesn't have to be exact. I promise it'll still come out beautiful and you'll enjoy the process. So you saw just a second ago, I just kind of squeegeed up a little drip that happened on the side. But that's what a lot of people use these tools for, is paint cleanup while it's still damp. But I just wanted to show the versatility of them. Plus, you guys know, if you've followed me for a while, you know I've basically gone through my house and dipped everything, so everything's gone in paint. screwdrivers, erasers, Lord knows. Alright, so I am going to go around this with the white, but I'm not going to go all the way up to the top. I'm just going to kind of let them trail off into the tiny zone here at the top. So I'll start off just by double dipping a couple times so the dots stay larger. And then as I get to the top, you're letting the paint just run off the tool and it makes the dots smaller. So this is the dotting stylus, the ball end. A lot of people call this walking the dots. So it takes a little bit to get consistency of size. So that's why you see I'm going back to the palette a couple times, because I want the first few to be larger. And I also want the paint to last until I get to the top of our little Fimbria fan here. But you'll get used to too how much paint you need to load, which size stylus you like to use, and then how many dots you can manage to get out of one dip. So there's not really a rhyme or reason as to why I just did one side then the other. Sometimes I do one side and I like to look at how it is to see if maybe I want to leave it asymmetrical, but that's just personal design choice. Also, if they're wet and I'm constantly doing this side, that side, this side, that side, sometimes I've dragged my hand in it before, so it's just personal preference when you choose to dot which areas. Sometimes too, steal dot from the wet dot and then you can go to the small dots again. So, alright, so now I'm debating if I want to do, I think I just want to do a bunch of little speckles in where the V is. So I'm going to go back to the green we used, the dark one, the mermaid tail, and I'm going to use the pointy stylus. And I'm just going to do a bunch of little dots in here. And we'll kind of make it so it's sort of ombre. So we'll start with dark, do another maybe middle color, and then lighter out towards the edge a bit. We'll see, I just kind of want to have this piece feel a little more whimsical, so we're just kind of speckling it here, just haphazardly putting the dots down here. And it doesn't matter the size, I'm not counting how many, I'm just kind of staying within the little V zone here. It gives you a little bit more freedom too to just kind of zen dot. You guys are doing awesome if you made it to this point already. I'm sure it's looking fabulous. Alright, so now instead of the mermaid tail, I switched to the little bit lighter bluegrass green. And I didn't mix it quite well enough, so sometimes you get those, I don't know if it starts to be a little bit separated, so it doesn't come out fully. But again, we're just kind of just tapping in here to fill in the space. And I think the last color I'll grab for lightest will be the Jadeite green that we use, that super light one, to be on the outer edge. So you can see the difference in how much lighter this Jadeite is, but it also kind of gives that just speckly effect, sparkly like stars. Just more whimsical. And again, it's just another element that's different that you can create with to add to your pieces to make your mandalas different. So I'm just kind of filling up to where the final guideline is on the outer edge. And I think that'll do it for that zone. So now I'm going to switch to, this is baby blue, and it's one of the multi-surface paints. So it will air cure on its own, but I am going to put a top coat on this piece as well. But if you did not want to, you could use all the multi-surface paints, which would air cure on their own. So it kind of seals itself, if you will. But it was just the perfect light blue to go next in my array here, so baby blue it is. And I'm using the pointed silicone stylus. So if you're looking these up, when you're looking for tags, it's dotting tools, nail art styluses, dual end silicone styluses. So I'll leave some links for them in the description. As with everything else that I use in the video, I'll put links in the description for them so you guys can check out the products for yourself if you'd like. Just kind of filling in the last tier of the fans. Alright, so I'm thinking I just want to add one more dot, and I might just put this all back to the original color. Oh, that didn't go very well for centering that dot, so probably that will be my plan, is just going back to the original color. I don't often use these styluses either, so if your paint's a little thicker or the under dot there may have been a little wetter, you can see it kind of made it a little chunky, for lack of a better term. So it looks textured instead. So that might just go back to the original color. So I'm going to use the pointed stylus here, and I'm going with our darkest mermaid green only over the green zone that we just made. I'm going to pull a swipe the length of our green zone here for the dots. And I'm just pulling it along the edge. And so again, it's a little bit like the paintbrush where you're pushing down a little bit harder at the beginning. And then this is pointed at the end, so as you let up on the silicone tool, it will give you that pointed tail. But again, I'm only doing the green above the green zone. So I encourage you just to take your time with these too, so that you can kind of hold the shape that you want to go, the directionality that you want to go. Also, I want to warn you in advance, my computer glitched and shut down on me while I was doing this. So the next ones I'll do are dark blue, the true blue, and it's going to start halfway down the green swipe. And then I'm going to do a swipe of white after it. So they're not stacked vertically on top of each other, they're kind of spread out horizontally, but you're going to see it just pop into place. But I did take the time to swipe out each one and my computer crashed, so I'm not sure what happened, but you get the idea with these first ones. You just take your time, The next one's True Blue. Start halfway down each swipe. Magically appears. So see, I started halfway down the green, and then halfway down the blue I started with the white. And then I just let the tail end at the top of the dotted arc for the white. So I am going to cover over the center because I don't like the way the other dots turned out. Pardon me. So I'm just using this tool to kind of spread the paint over the two other colors. But that is the fun of art. You don't like something, paint over it, you know, add a little flourish here, flourish there, top dots, whatever you want. You can create your own masterpiece. There was just something about that center that wasn't doing it for me. So I'm just going to fix this out here. All right, now I kind of felt like we needed to fill in a little bit here when I look at it on my screen. So I'm going back to the beveled tool. And we're going to do some angled petals here, just tuck them in under our fan, the first row of fans. And above that same green that we used, the Kelly green. It's a nice bright leafy green. Spring-like. And it kind of starts to look like our top fan is becoming like a flower where it's just growing out of the center up the stem. Maybe I'll just continue to do a couple little dots up the top and create that look. But see, as you go, you'll look at each piece and think, well, I need something here, or I do want to leave that as negative space. I like the black. I like that it has space and is showing through, or I don't. Or if you're using something natural like wood or stone, you can let that show through without a background by leaving the negative space. You just have so many options. It's awesome. So I'm using the pointed silicone tool now just to dot 4 dots around that Jadeite dot, just to kind of keep that Kelly green creeping up to our fan here. It kind of looks like a flower on a stem. Is it Indian paintbrushes? I think they're shaped kind of like this at the end. I don't think I've ever seen any in this color, but they have like the gorgeous burnt orange and fall colors in their palette. Okay, and lastly, like I said, I'm just feeling that this space needs to be filled, so I'm going to go back to that dark blue because I don't want it to be anything overt here. I don't want to draw attention away from the piece. So I'm going back to the dark subdued true blue with the larger stylus, and I'm tucking just a little bit, the largest dot I can fit under each side of the fans here. And I might be able to do a couple little dots down in towards our stem. So you guys notice from my videos, I learned a long time ago just to kind of speak what I'm thinking, because I feel like that helps the creative process. Some people think I talk too much, but some people have found this helpful. So I just kind of talk as I go what I'm thinking, okay, or what I'm doing. You don't know that I'm pushing down hard from a video. You don't know I'm pushing harder with a paintbrush or, you know, letting up on the tool. So if you say all that, I feel like it's helping teach the process and teach the techniques. So I'm hoping you guys are finding this helpful, and I appreciate all the encouragement with it. And then a lot of people are asking what to coat your pieces with, the clear coats and varnish and whatnot. So I have done multiple varnish videos, but this one I am going to show, I think I only did one other time where I used the Deco Art Topcoat in one of my videos. So I'm going to show, coming up, the Deco Art Topcoat, which it's kind of like resin. No odors though, no ventilation needed, non-toxic. I hold it in my hands. I use my hands to put it on. So I just want to encourage you to stay tuned afterwards. I'm going to pour that on here and show you the gorgeous shine. Alright, so I did tuck a few dots down in there. I think it might be good. I hope you guys enjoyed creating this mandala with me. It's so awesome to be back creating a little bit here and there. So this is a picture of the top coat. So I just want to encourage you too to shop around. There are lots of places online, lots of prices. So Michaels also carries this, and I know they do a 40% off one item for a coupon at times, so that would get you a better price. But I'll put a price or a link for Amazon in the description. But other than that, I just encourage you to look around. It's a great product. It's sold multiple places, as you can see. And it comes in different sizes. You can get different amounts. So if you just want like a little 6 ounce, 8 ounce, I think they sell it in. Alrighty, so I have my piece here that's dried, my giant top coat, because 16 ounce, but also my camera's closer because I have this up on sort of a pedestal on wax paper, just because it's easier to clean up that way if any drips happen. But we'll put it up here so that the drips can kind of come off the edge here, and it gives me an opportunity to work beneath it, but still show you on the camera. Alright, so this is pretty easy to use. I've brushed it on in the past. I've poured it on. Don't shake it. It'll get kind of cloudy. So it's just one step pouring top coat and you get that resin-like finish. It's great on canvas. I have used it on wood. I've used it on stones. It says for flat surfaces, but I've used it on rocks, everything. So I love it. It's shiny. But also it's not, you don't have to have it in an area where you have good ventilation. I'm here in my basement, so I'm not gonna have to wear a mask or anything like that. So I'm just gonna pour it right on the piece here. The less you work it, the better it looks. So it's kind of like the fluid art and acrylic painting where they just pour the paint on, So this is pouring the top coat on. And then I like to smooth out the edges with my fingers. Don't let it pool in certain areas, just kind of spread it out to have a thin coat. But you could wear gloves, or you could use a palette knife, or even I've used a sponge brush in the past. I just find that using my hands is a little easier for me to kind of get a feel for it and make sure it's spread evenly and there's no drips on the bottom, because there's not really a way to sand it off. It gets cloudy. It doesn't do well with sanding. So it is self-leveling. They encourage you to leave it on this 45-degree angle to dry. I think though for this purpose of this piece, I'm gonna try to just let it dry flat and see how it goes. But you can see I'm just kind of wicking it to the edges here to give it more coverage. I might have to add a little bit more on here to help with that.
I found something.
Giuseppe's adding his 2 cents in here. But see, I added a little bit more just so I don't have to work it more on top of the piece. Just let it kind of glide over the surface. And that way I can just kind of pull it to the edges here and smooth them out so I don't have any drips that are going to cause an issue with the final piece. Now I'm just setting it on that little pedestal below, which really is just a paint jar. And then I have a drying rack that I put them on afterwards. I'm just going to pop that little bubble quick. You don't have to use a heat gun or anything like you do with resin for this. So I just pop the little bubble with a mechanical pencil and it self-levels, so while it's all wet like this, it'll fill itself in. And I think I might just leave it here actually to dry, and that way I can just pop the video on and show you guys the after effect as it's dry. But you can see it goes on a little bit cloudy, but it will dry totally clear, I promise. You'll see. So I'm just kind of fixing on the bottom here where it's coming off the edge. I just want to make sure that it's smooth so that I don't have any major drips here. And I'll babysit it maybe for 1 or 2 minutes just to make sure that nothing excess comes off the edge. I think I got a pretty even pour here for this one, so not too much is coming off the edges, which is perfect. It takes a little practice sometimes too. But you can see already the sheen, and it will go like glass after this. Alright, so I'm going to let that dry, and I'm mildly rebellious going against the 45-degree angle, but I'm just going to leave it flat like this to see how it looks after. Alright, you guys, here is the final piece. Dun, da, da, da. I need some sound effects to put on here. So check it out. You can see it is like the glass sheen. It's awesome. And then I didn't have any drips because I kind of sorted that out with my hands. But for the bottoms of these, I cut out felt from self-adhesive felt, and I put them on the bottom of my pieces, and or I use the rock hangers. So I can just stick one of those and they have a hanger, and I can hang it up on a shelf. I mean on a wall. You can put them on plate stands. I've actually am using some of these as coasters right now. Coasters in my living room, yeah. So it's like the perfect size, colorful art around the house. There you go. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed doing this with me. I'm so psyched to be able to come back and say hi to you all for a bit, and hopefully it won't be so long in between the next ones. Hope you're all doing well. Feel free to come say hi on Facebook or Instagram. I try to post every other day at least on there and say hi, and yeah. Alright, I wish you all happy painting, and I will talk to you all again soon. Have a great day.